Travelers, and welcome to another episode of Tales of Teyvat, a Genshin Lore Podcast. Last week, we discussed Mondstadt's Dark Knight hero, Diluc. There's still a lot to unpack in the Ragvinder family, but we definitely feel like we at least cracked the surface. This week, we'll be discussing the ever sassy and ever great Cloud Retainer. Additionally, I want to remind travelers to visit talesofteyvat.com to see visual representations of the lore mentioned during today's podcast. Here are guides that put them together for you to make things a little easier to understand. On our site, you could also find some awesome goodies, including artist spotlights from the community for each episode, wallpapers for download, and a way to check out some of our favorite Genshin merch. Finally, feel free to email us at talesofteyvatpod@gmail.com to let us know what you thought of this week's episode and what topics you'd like to see in the future. That being said, all I could think about right now is Cloud Retainer's fruit container.
Fruit container? What? Our friend has a Cloud Retainer, aka a random white crane, in her teapot, and she manages a fruit stand. It's lucrative.
Very lucrative.
Yeah, so Cloud Retainer's fruit container. It's the best place ever.
I feel like if Cloud Retainer did own a fruit stand, that she would totally be up pricing everything.
Oh, totally.
Absolutely.
100%.
Like, she'd be that bitch that's like, you want an apple? $16.
That's why we love her.
You said you really wanted a raspberry today? Well, yesterday they were $2. Today they're $10.
Oh
And
my
actually,
God.
on top of that, we only have blackberries today, and they're $13. So take what you can.
The audacity of the capitalism
Right here, right
I know, literally. Hey, Cloud Retainer's got to do what Cloud Retainer's got to do.
now. Yeah.
True.
How
Yeah.
else is an Adepti supposed to survive in these means?
Yeah. Hard life.
Mhm.
That being said, I think it'd be really important. I know we did this one in another episode, but just for travelers who maybe don't remember and need a refresher, I think it'd be really important to do an overview of what exactly an Adepti is and who the other Adepti are in Liyue. But I guess to start, Adepti are only in Liyue that we know of.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes, they are the Adepti of Liyue. The Adepti are only in Liyue. They are a part of what is considered the Illuminated Beasts, the Yakshas being the other type of Illuminated Beast. They've been around for a very, very long time. They stay in Liyue for whatever reason, actually. That's kind of interesting. I wonder why that's never branched out. But they're almost kind of like
They're
these little
homebodies. Homebodies.
I mean, it makes sense with Inazuma and the yokai because they're on an island, but Liyue's got so much like,
Yeah.
come on down to Mondstadt or
I think they're just
Smeru.
all gods in a region.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the ones that we know of, the ones that are the head honchos to say, are Cloud Retainer, Moon Carver, Mountain Shaper, and who we have just learned of recently with the last Lantern Rite is Streetward Rambler, aka Madame Ping.
Madam Ping.
Yes, she is an
So cute.
Adepti.
I love her.
God, she was so damn hot.
Along with these very studious, kind of very knowledgeable creatures, because they're all building things and making mechanics and doing all kinds of stuff. We also know that they have had interactions with gods, especially Cloud Retainer, who was BFFs with Zhongli and with Wei Zhang, who was the god of dust, who we also learned a little bit more about in the Lantern Rite cutscene. That was beautiful, but she died in the Archon War, so we'll just add her to the Dead Fred's Club.
R.I.P.
It makes sense in my theory of why Cloud Retainer is an Animo user because her friend is dead.
It's true.
That, yes.
Yes.
We do know that they have human forms, like I said in that video, but is their true form the animal though?
I think both are because they can switch between the two very easily. I figured they might just be an aspect of each. So with Cloud Retainer, the crane is just an aspect of the Illuminated Beast because humans are animals. And with that being said, it could just be they looked human at one point and are like, you know what? I want to be solitary. I'm going to be a bird. Bye, bitch.
Yeah, they're not the most welcoming of people or
They don't-
things, beings.
Yeah, they don't like humans.
Except for Moon Carver, my boyfriend.
Zach Aguilar.
I think that's very important to notice that the Adepti have a huge contingency against specifically the Qixing. They have a huge rivalry almost with them. And for travelers who don't know, the Qixing is the governing force in Liyue that is ruled or led by Ningguang.
It makes sense that there is that contention because the Adeptus did step away to allow humans to rule themselves. So there's probably a y'all are doing it wrong type of a feel to it, especially like when we'll get to this later in the end of the Liyue Archon quest, how Moon Carver and Cloud Retainer are talking about how they've stepped away and they feel justified now that they could do that because of the outcome.
Yeah.
I don't know why I thought that they had stepped away, but like Rex Lapis was ruling everything, and that the first time that the Adepti really have stepped away is now after his death.
Well, this is like 3,000 years prior.
Just a little bit in the past.
So originally the Guili Assembly with Morax in charge ruled over Liyue together. So that's all of the Adepti that we just mentioned, and also Wei Zhang that we just mentioned as well, who's the goddess of dust. They all ruled together over Liyue. And then after the Archon War, they kind of and this isn't, I have no facts around this. This is just how I feel based on everything we've been shown. Zhongli kind of took the head, almost like he became the president, and then like everyone else became his delegates. And he ruled, and then that really does bring us into the whole Liyue storyline where Zhongli has decided that he's no longer going to rule Liyue, and he has to prove that the Qixing can do it themselves. And I think that the Adepti, especially Cloud Retainer reminds me of like that aunt who's just like really stuck in her ways. Like doesn't like change, doesn't like that, like, you know, their niece isn't coming to Christmas this year because she got a boyfriend, like, you know, that type of thing. Like that's the type of person I feel like Cloud Retainer is. And Cloud Retainer is like, this isn't gonna work. This is stupid. Blah, 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 blah.
Definitely the lesbian aunt.
100%. Yeah. I mean, she definitely leads this mindset too amongst the rest of the Adepti that like what Zhongli is doing is stupid and that's not going to work and that the humans can't fend for themselves.
I mean, humans are kind of stupid.
Yeah.
She's not wrong.
Tiff said it, not me.
We all agree, though.
No, it's true, though.
Yeah.
So I guess we should actually talk a little bit then about what exactly the Guili Assembly was and a little bit about like Cloud Retainer and what she was like back then. We are talking like, Brandon, you said what, over 1,000 years ago, right?
So it was formed 3,700 years ago.
Oh my God.
Doesn't it say that Cloud Retainer has been protecting Liyue Harbor for 37 centuries? Is that where we get that number?
Yeah.
That is so many centuries.
Zhongli is fucking old.
He's an old motherfucker.
Do we know who's the oldest, Zhongli or Venti?
Zhongli.
Yeah, I think Zhongli.
Is he older or has he just been an Archon longer?
He's older and has been an Archon longer.
Oh, that's a good... We don't know much about Venti's wisp life.
Yeah.
True.
I love that collective. True. Venti could have been a wisp for 1,000,000
Who
years.
knows how long he was a wisp? Like that's.
But was he Venti when he was a wisp? Did he
Yeah,
have sentience?
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. I mean, he helped
wisp
lead that
life.
rebellion
Mhm.
as a wisp.
He had a friend.
Yeah, he made a friend and he's now taken the
Dead.
form of.
He took over his dead friend's body.
He has a dead friend.
Dead Friends Club.
If I die, please do not go around in my resemblance. It won't help you get anywhere. It's not going to help you in life.
I'll channel your death into my animo power.
All of a sudden, we're all going to be animals.
Yeah.
One day, you guys just all of a sudden get 3 like animo visions like dropped on your desks, and you're like, ah,
Like,
shit.
I'm a 5-star.
Yes.
You have now like above your head it says I'm a 5-star, and it also says Dead Friends Club. Like it's all your like the list of associations you're a part of. Anyway, so the Guili Assembly is 3,700 years old, and Cloud Retainer's been a part of it since day one, right?
Yeah, I think maybe even before then, because she's been in contract with Zhongli for, I think, maybe a little bit longer, and she's been friends with him for a little bit longer.
Do we know what type of contract she had with him?
No, I'm probably just protecting.
Well, I don't think there was a contract for the Guili Assembly. Like that was just some club, the club, established by
It's like all the cool kids.
Mm-hmm.
Wei Zhang, Streetward Rambler, which is Madame Ping, Zhongli, and Marchosius.
Ooh, I forgot about that one.
Nova,
Oh,
the Stove God. Yeah.
Oh shit, yeah. And
Wait a second. That name is Guoba?
Yeah, that's like
Yeah,
his true name.
Marchosius, yeah.
Man, that Guoba.
That Guoba is full of surprises.
He really is.
He's so spicy.
okay, so you don't think
So
they
what
had
did they
a
do?
concept?
So like did they just decide one day like, hey, this place is like lawless and whatever, so we should like tell people what to do?
No, wasn't it at some point there were several different regions that each kind of reigned over because Guisheng, she ruled Xingshe village in that area, and Zhongli had Mount Tianheng. I think Cloud Retainer was over at one of the other mountains. I think it was them coming together of like, well, we could all be separate territories or we could come together and rule the people in peace. And I thought that's what started the Guili Assembly.
Well, I have a question now. We have just formed the Tales Assembly, and you guys can each now rule over a small section of anywhere in Teyvat. What area do you want to rule over?
Ooh.
The desert.
No snatch.
What part of the... You have to pick a small section out. Listen to how small these sections are that they governed.
Okay.
You
okay.
can't get the whole desert.
Desher would be very mad about that.
Wait, so you just took Star Snatch?
I went right under the radar while you were talking and just grabbed it without you knowing.
I'm so hurt. That's
I
my
love Star
favorite
Snatch.
place.
Can we rule it together? I don't
No.
really want to rule a place all by
Aw.
myself.
No, we have to do it alone. That's the point of the assembly.
So you can co-rule it and then just pick like one other region.
I would like to be in charge of the Skyfrost Nail region.
Of course.
That's-
I mean, the Skynail region.
it says Skyfrost Nail on the map, just so you guys know. That's my
Oh,
region.
man, this is real hard.
I know you gotta pull up your interactive maps for this one.
Yeah, I did. I pulled it up because I'm like, I love the desert so much.
I want Economia.
Ooh,
fuck, wait.
Y'all got pissed
No,
real
no,
quick.
you can do Enconomia, but I feel like you have to pick a section of Enconomia.
That part at the bottom, whatever it's called, whatever.
The whole thing's at the bottom.
Ugh, I guess I'll pull up the map. Jesus.
I have picked wherever Vimara village is. I pick that.
I think that's just what it's called.
I know, but it doesn't give me a region at the moment because I'm too zoomed out.
I feel bad that I took Snar Snatch. I love Snar Snatch,
Snatch.
but I like feel bad now.
It's okay, you can have it. I got the Skyfrost nail. I just have to be allowed to come visit.
Yes, of course. Only if we can also go to Dua Lipa Gorge and go have some like coffee.
Wait,
Yeah, of
no,
course,
I
of
want to
course.
be a part of this. I'll take Dua Lipa.
For travelers who don't know, we call Dadwap. I'm not even gonna try. Who wants to go for it?
Dadupa? Dabussy?
We call that Dua Lipa Gorge.
It's easier to say than the actual name. Dadupa?
Okay, B, do you have an Enconomia region you want to be in charge of?
Stop pressuring me.
You gotta now.
You sure you don't want the chasm?
There's also special areas of the chasm.
No, I think it's the Serpent's Heart, maybe.
Ooh,
Oh,
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, the Serpent's Heart. Let's
You
go
can
with
have
that.
my serpent heart.
Oh, you're so romantic.
Just don't tell Albedo. Okay, awesome. Now that our assembly is ready to rule, we'll follow very closely in the ways of the Guili Assembly. So we have the Guili Assembly. Now we have the Tales Assembly. If you guys have chosen your own assemblies at home, please let us know. We'd love to know what they are.
Mhm.
So the Guili Assembly, 3,700 years old, a bunch of friends come together like a high school club, but it becomes more than that. And they become the governing agent of Liyue, which is really interesting. You know, when you're in high school and like a bunch of your friends come together and they're like, all right, we're going to do this and we're going to make this happen. And then like 6 weeks later, it's like no one's thinking about it anymore. Like no one made it happen.
You mean my high school band?
Yeah.
Lots of things. Yeah, exactly. How many people had a high school band that they were going to form or a
Every
road trip?
creative project that anyone's ever done.
Yeah,
Mhm.
basically, yeah. That the Guili assemblies didn't do that. They succeeded. They did not forget. And they ended up ruling for at least what, 2,700 years? If the Archon War was 1,000 years ago?
Up until the Cataclysm, I would guess.
Okay, cool.
From the Cataclysm or the Archon War?
Archon War.
No, well, it started 3,700 years ago. So the Cataclysm was 500 years ago. So I don't know. When did it stop?
No. Because it was the Guili Assembly is before Liyue Harbor became basically like the be-all place. It was the Guili Plains that are now flooded over. So it's everything before 3,700 years ago.
Oh yeah, like when did King say that ended? I don't remember.
When Guixing dies in the Archon War. After she dies and then Rex Lapis becomes the Archon, that's when the Guili Assembly is gone because he establishes Liyue Harbor.
Yes. So 1,000 years ago it ended, which means that they ruled for 2,700 years.
Mhm.
Right?
Yeah, that sounds right.
I'm not good at math, so, I need a calculator.
But that sound.
Okay. All right. I can't spell and I can't math, so
No, you can. you just did it. That's math. That's
I should play the lotto tonight. I got lucky. Moving on from the Guili Assembly, I do think we're going to actually be talking about them more later in the season, so I don't want to give too much away. But Cloud Retainer also has a kind of crucial role in the Liyue Archon quest.
Yes.
All I remember is her at the end, personally. Like when she's kind of like bitching us out on the Jade Chamber. She's like, save the masses.
Yeah, because every time like she refers to herself as one, she's kind of got this like old English, well, not English, but this old timey kind of way of
Tibetan.
speaking. Yeah.
One has a canker sore.
Literally.
Within the Archon quest, we get sent up to the top of Outsong, which is where to actually go find Cloud Retainer. And in order to kind of like suss her out almost, we have to go through these 3 steps of making food. We see this cute little ass table in the middle of this little, flooded little area. And engraved in the 3 seats there are actually Zhongli, Cloud Retainer, and Guizang. There are little seats and there's little hints for their favorite foods. Now, remember, Guizang died thousands of years ago. The fact that this table is still there melts my heart. Like,
it hurts.
She's like, maybe we're all going to have, we're all going to eat again. So I'm going to leave the table set with the engraved names. And it's so sweet. So we have to make all the food. And
can I just throw a random thought out there too? During Lantern Rite this year, we do see Guizhang kind of encased in something in what we assumed was her death scene. So I am curious if she's like Chi-Chi and she's encased possibly in amber somewhere.
I'm like, in the table?
It's actually in Shui Slope, that place north of Luhui Pool, that shit where there's like all those.
No idea what you're talking about. Are you okay? Are you having a little breakdown right now? Where's the map? Get the map.
I'm getting the map. You know when we spawn to go fight the fire flower, the pyro flower?
Yeah.
And we go for that place. It gets really dark and kind of sad and overcast, and there's a bunch of monsters, and it's an inlet pool, and there's pillars everywhere.
Oh, where the 9 pillar quest is? Yeah.
And if you find that out, you go into this very large crypt.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that is where Guizhang is.
Oh my god, the 9 realms.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's a Honkai.
No.
Sorry.
And ending the episode right now.
No, but that is suspected to be where Guizhang died because it's so overcast and it's so, it's very solemn. And it's also like when we look back at the Echoes trailer, we kind of see something similar happen. And also, why is there this giant monument? To me, it feels like it's connected via there.
Yeah.
Sorry, Tiff, for this. Please go back to explaining everything to us.
We have our little table of food to be able to get Cloud Retainer out. She does then give us some information. We get to go into her abode, which I think is very interesting too, that you still can actually go into her abode, the dwelling in the clouds. Unlike, I think it's Mountain Shaper. He's got like a big seal on it. He's like, no,
Yeah.
No,
you
friends
cannot
allowed.
come here.
I hate Mountain Shaper.
Why do you hate Mountain Shaper?
He's a jerk. dark. He's no Moon Carver.
He's a man's
He's
man.
Moon Carver is so dreamy. Ugh.
Hear that, Zach?
Yeah, I'll say that he's like very much like a man's man. I'm always like, ugh, go away.
We
Like,
do not care.
although, you know what was interesting too is that we got to see like all the Adepti gals in human form.
Oh god, they're all hot.
What happened to these guys? Why haven't I seen their human forms?
What other Adepti gal? Well, yeah, Madame Ping and Cloud Retainer.
And Guishong.
She's not an Adepti. She's a god.
But we saw them. We haven't
No, they're
seen...
all Adepti.
No, I thought she was just the god of dust, like Zhongli's the god of.
They're Adepti are gods.
Oh,
It's very confusing.
It's a
you know
lot.
where I
It
get a
is
little
confusing.
confused with all the Adepti? What the heck is Ganyu?
She's half Adepti.
She's the Cocoa Goat.
Yeah, and Zhao, like we don't think of Zhao as a god, but the other Adepti are gods. It's
Yeah, like
very-
Zhao's an illuminated beast. He's a yaksha.
Yeah,
Ganyu's an Adepti. Is she's not a halfie like
Half
Yanfei.
Adepti, I think.
No,
I
I thought
think
she
she's
was
full.
full.
Because remember when we were down in the chasm, she couldn't do the thingy.
That's
and
Yanfei.
had to.
Yeah,
The
that's
thingy
Yanfei.
thing.
Well, Yanfei, yes, Yanfei. Okay, so I got it backwards. Yanfei couldn't do the thingy, so she needed Ganyu and Zhao, who are illuminated beasts, to do it.
Was Ganyu there?
No.
I made that up right there.
No, she's a half Adeptus.
Wow. No, I just made that up. Al was fully on board too. She was like, "Yeah, uh-huh."
So that's why I thought Ganyu was a full Adeptus because of her origins and how long-lived she is, which will go into like,
She was there during, I think, the Archon War.
Yeah,
with
she was-
Cloud Retainer.
yeah,
so-
she was born either maybe a little bit after because she never met Guishang.
Oh no, she said that she knew her but didn't remember her. She was too young.
Oh, okay. So she was a baby Cocoa Goat.
So I'm like so distracted. I'm like, I looked up to see if Ganyu was like a full Adepti, and it says that she's in half Adepti, but nowhere is it telling me where we find that out. It's just like she's half Adepti.
I feel like I remember that from her story quest, though. Like, I feel like I remember her being a half Adeptus.
That's why she decides to like live in like the harbor, right? It's like she's trying. It's kind of like
Yeah, because she's
Shenhe.
sort of like torn between two worlds.
Right. Okay. So, back to kind of the Archon role. We help Cloud Retainer with the food thing, and then we end up eventually going back to Liyue Harbor, and we're continuing to prep for the funeral of Rex Lapis. At this point, we're kind of like looking for the Gnosis.
Wait, can we talk about how sexy Moon Carver is?
Wait,
Moon Carver, he's so hot. He's the nicest of
He is
all
the
of-
nicest.
Yeah, of all of the Adepti.
He's truly regal.
Can we say all of the alive Adepti? Because I feel like Guizhong would have been really nice to us.
Yeah.
Oh,
fair.
what about Madame Ping, though? She's pretty damn nice to us.
Um,
She gave us a house.
Yeah,
did.
but she doesn't really count because she's like in Liyue. Like we can like walk up to her, but whereas Moon Carver like seeks us out. Like
All right,
we
all
don't have to jump through any kind of hoop. We're not like, how do I like please you? Like Cloud Retainer or Mountain Shaper. Like Moon Carver's like, hey, you need help. I'm here. What do you need?
You need a back rub? I got you.
You need a stag? Do you want this stag? I'm like, yeah, I do.
so one of the cool parts about Cloud Retainer, like we said, like she's really into mechanics and
Yes.
building things, and she has, I guess she made her abode, and all that kind of stuff, and it almost became a little bit of a rivalry with her and Guizhang of like, who does stuff better.
Cloud Retainer's so competitive.
Cloud Retainer is a competitive bitch, so she was like, oh, you know what, let's have Zhongli judge our stuff. So they ended up having like almost like a little contest, and Zhongli was like, Guizhang's is better.
Yeah, of course he picked her boo. He picked his
Mhm.
boo.
Now that we know that, it may have been rigged. But Cloud Retainer, while she was very rivals aside, and they were best friends, so it's not like they were like enemies or anything like that. She took that as, okay, this is fact. And when Guizhang died in the Archon War, Cloud Retainer actually put the finishing touches on the Guizhang ballista.
Because she was in love with her.
Yes, she was. She totally was. But she put the final touches on it and stuff like that. we use that ballista. We have to go like repair it, find it and stuff, but we use that in the part of that quest with the J chamber and stuff too. So it's actually quite important. So even thousands of years later, their mechanics and stuff are still very relevant and important. Then nothing got outdated. Outside of taking care of everybody, they were also making some really good shit.
In that trailer, we also see how like everyone just wants to make so much more stuff. And when we go into Cloud Retainer's domain, it's completely like, oh, you want to see all these mechanics? You want to see all this shit I can make? Oh my God, let me show you. In the best and most snarky way. She dunked on us, man.
I've never been so invested in a love triangle because I love that Zhongli is obviously super in love with Guizhong.
Yeah.
But I feel like after Lantern Rite, we know that Madame Ping, aka Street Rambler, is also super in love with her. So if they were friends back in the day, I could see like her being, you know, sort of with Zhongli, but like Street Rambler.
Like Streetward Rambler being in love as well.
Yeah.
So like basically we're saying that everybody loved Guizhong though.
Yeah. Yeah.
Guizhong was the traveler before the traveler arrived.
You know what's really interesting about the love triangle too is that you really made like a good point. Like it's very clear that Zhongli and Madame Ping were both in love with, or at least to me and to us, in love with Guizhong. And I feel like Cloud Retainer knows that too. I feel like some of the language that Cloud Retainer used during this year's Lantern Rite was very suggestive of that. And I think it's clear when Cloud Retainer is like very hesitant to talk to Madame Ping about Guizhong during Lantern Rite and like kind of makes Ganyu approach her instead with us. And what I think is really interesting, and I've seen a few like Twitter threads and videos that kind of point out the fact that in any of the cutscenes that show Zhongli in that like fun cartoon vibe they do, anything after Guizhong died, his face is never shown.
Oh, really?
People think that represents his mourning and his like depression from it. But what's interesting is that Madame Ping goes to Liyue, and I feel like Madame Ping felt the need to leave the assembly at that point and felt the need to kind of separate herself because she knew probably that her romance with Guizhong would go nowhere, and she knew that, you know, she couldn't really maybe mourn as much as she wanted to with her friends because everyone was more aware about the Zhongli love line, right? And I feel like Cloud Retainer knows that and might have a little bit of guilt for not checking in with Madame Ping. And I think that's even supported by the Liyue Archon line. I know we kind of got sidetracked when we were talking about it earlier, but in the Liyue Archon line, Madame Ping says that Zhongli is an old friend of hers, and says Morax is an old friend of hers. Between her communications and Zhongli's communications, it almost seems like they don't talk anymore.
Yeah.
Like they might be purposely avoiding each other.
Yeah, they were in love with the same lady.
Yes. And I do want to go back to the Liyue Archon line because it kind of taps a little bit more into some important storyline with Cloud Retainer and the Qixing. So we finish helping Cloud Retainer, which Tiff was talking about earlier, and we end up finishing things up for Morax's funeral. And Madame Ping also helps us, and we go into Madame Ping's abode as well, which is in a teapot, and that's eventually we get our own teapot from that. But we then end up at the Golden House where we fight Child. And after we fight Child, he announces that he is going to release Osile.
Who?
Childe.
Who? Ew.
Hey! Child.
Never heard of him.
Tartagly this pussy.
Ajax.
B removed him from Irminsul.
Yeah.
Imagine that's like one of the end game content things is like you could just remove someone from the work of Irminsul. And everyone's like, who's Ajax? What? Anyway, so when we finish fighting Child and he's no longer in his Foul Legacy form, we actually get to talk with him for a minute. And he openly admits that like he's gonna release Osile onto Liyue Harbor because he's trying to get the Geo Archon out in public because he has now realized that this dragon corpse is not actually the corpse of Rex Lapis, and he wants to lure out the Geo Archon so he can get the
when
Gnosis.
did this happen? Because I don't recall this.
This all happens in the Golden House.
So he actually says, like, I'm gonna call up Osile just to get the Geo Archon out. His
language is something along the lines. I know Brandon doesn't believe me, that's why. His language is something along the lines of like, oh, how convenient it was that Rex Lapis died my first day in Liyue. And now I'm finding out that this isn't even him and that his gnosis isn't here because it's never been here with the body. We admit that we don't have it. And he's like, and you guys don't have it either. So now I've been collecting these, like, I don't remember what he calls them, but they're basically like charms. And we actually see them in child story trailer.
Sigils of permission or whatever.
Yes. So he actually shows us that he has like 20 of them. And he's like, I'm going to use all these to release Osile. And he gives us a whole story of who Osile is and how only the Geo Archon was able to lock Osile beneath the waves using his like rock spears. And now he's going to release him because if the Geo Archon's the only one that can keep him at bay, I'm going to get him out in the public. And then I will say Child says some murderous thing along the lines of like, if you want to drown with the rest of Liyue Harbor, you can stay. But it is interesting because he definitely has a more logical standpoint originally. And then I feel like he almost has to like cover his ass and be like, no, you're a rampage murderer. Have fun dying.
But I still don't understand how that equates to like, I'm just trying to draw out the Geo Archon.
He says that. He says like only the Geo Archon could contain Osile. So Liyue Harbor is now in his hands.
Okay.
Like he's very like suggestive that like he wants
that nobody can fight out Osile except Morax.
And what's interesting about that is that is Cloud Retainer's view on a lot of things, is that people can't defend themselves.
Oh no, no, not equating Cloud Retainer to Child. No, I won't stand for it. I will not stand for it.
I agree with Bees. This is blasphemy.
Listen,
This is
I have to listen to the blasphemy every episode of My Favorite People. So now you can take it. Child and Cloud Retainer are similar people.
Fair,
you do have a good point
fair.
though, that because Cloud Retainer, after we actually do fight Osile and win, she comes down and she's just like, oh well, Ganyu did a lot, but I guess you guys helped. Like,
yeah,
that was
what
like
a
her little
bitch.
like maybe.
She's like, Zhao kind of saved your life and became your rebound after Child, but it's fine.
I just don't like the narrative that Child wasn't actually like planning on killing everyone.
Yeah, because
He
it changes
was.
your whole perspective on him.
Yeah.
It changes your whole fucking perspective on this guy.
If you're gonna drown like with the rest of the harbor, right? Like he was fine with sacrificing everyone.
But he knew that the Geo Archon wasn't going to let that happen.
Did he?
Yes, he was so confident going into that, like these statements that he made. He was like, this is my back pocket plan. He basically also said that's backup plan. And he was like, now that I know the Geo Archon is alive and kicking somewhere, let's fucking get him out. It's like he left cheese out for you.
Wow.
You
I
need
was
some
gonna
more
say-
out
Way
B.
to bribe
You
me,
leave
Amanda.
cheese.
Wow.
Right for the cheese.
I really appreciate it.
Honestly, you could learn me out with Child with an E. So, like, it's okay. Yours is much better than mine. So,
I can't. I'm fucking...
Well, Child aside, let's speak of Childs without ease and talk
What?
about Cloud
Children?
Retainers. Yeah, Cloud Retainers, little wards and disciples and stuff,
Yeah.
which she got pretty early. Like, Shenhua was a child, and Yao Yao is technically not her ward. She's
ward.
Ramblers loves her.
She's an aunt to Yao Yao. She's like a
because who
loving
doesn't
aunt.
love Yao Yao?
I feel like Cloud Retainer is like the aunt to Yao Yao that's like, oh, Child, please.
Yeah. Well, she is so enamored with her that she actually, Cloud Retainer is the one who made Yao Yao's little bunny,
Oh,
her little Yugi. Yeah, she made it
love that so
to
much.
help her and, to keep her safe. But it also alerts the Adepti if Yao Yao gets into any trouble.
Now, do you think that's because of
Yeah,
Chi-Chi?
that's PTSD, man.
Probably.
Oh my god, that's so sad.
It's interesting too that she has a little mechanism built into it where she has it that Streetward Rambler can just yell out for Yugi and it'll tell, like, she'll find out where Yao Yao is. But Cloud Retainer's like, but look, do that now while she's a kid. But maybe, when she gets a little older, like, take that little side out. Like, don't be using that.
Mhm.
I identify. So Chi-Chi, let's talk about Chi-Chi. Like I just did her birthday lore, so I know that she randomly stumbled into the crossfire between the Adepti and demons and started crying because she knew she was going to die, which makes me so upset. She was given a vision right before she died, which pisses me off. And then she died, and the Adepti were like, oh my God, poor baby, let's bring her back to life. So they all sort of channeled their energy into her to bring her back. And then her little 8-year-old body could not handle that. So she went berserk. And it was the douchebag Mountain Shaper who was like, let me trap her in amber. So
fucking Mountain Shaper.
We start to see where the angst comes from.
But it just really makes me think that maybe Yao Yao is like their version of sort of, let's get this right.
Yeah, what they messed up, Chi-Chi. Yeah.
And I love that Yao Yao and Chi-Chi are BFFs.
Yeah.
Which is also super, like, what a connection. Like, they're
Yeah.
like, we are traumatized by Chi-Chi and what happened to her. So now Yao Yao has all this protection, but we're also making amends. And now Chi-Chi has a friend.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So sweet.
And who doesn't really actually want to see Chi-Chi berserk? Like, I kind of want to see
I
a
want to see
berserker
it.
Chi-Chi.
100%. What I really want to see is like at the end of the game, Chi-Chi becomes a real girl again.
She's gonna fucking Pinocchio.
It's gonna make me cry.
Oh.
We want to be a real girl.
Like not a zombie, like a real girl. And then Hu Tao can get off her damn back.
I know, Hu Tao be like, God damn it. Here's
Hu
a
Tao
cookie.
could finally be friends with her. And like, you're gonna die one day, motherfucker.
Yeah, she'd just give her a coupon.
Exactly.
Be like, well, when you die again, then I'm going to bury you.
So you were saying, Tiff, that there's the disciples. So we talked a little bit about Yao Yao, who's like the niece.
Yes.
But we have Ganyu and Shenhe, who are both disciples too.
Yes. Shenhe, it's actually interesting. Her story is so freaking tragic. I mean, there's so many tragic stories. But Shenhe, to, not make this a Shenhe episode, the short story of it is that her mother was very sick and her dad wanted to save the mother's life and gave two shits about his daughter. So he said he used the art of fate transference to basically sacrifice Shenhe to save his wife.
Disgusting.
And he basically like sent her out into like a scary like cave where there's like supposedly a demon and all this other kind of stuff. And Shenhe ended up being a little badass and actually
Survived.
survived that.
She survived and beat the fuck out of him.
Yeah. But Cloud Retainer became aware of it and was like, this motherfucker, it just sacrificed his daughter. Like, no. And Cloud Retainer was very taken by Shenhe and her, her abilities really at that point too. So when after all this stuff happened and she was kind of like passed out, Cloud Retainer took Shenhe back to her abode and, she was still a child at that point. So she started to teach her and make her into the person that she is. But at the same time, I don't know if Cloud Retainer actually believed that there was some crazy ass stuff like hidden in Shenhe or it was just a ruse, but she lets Shenhe believe that she's got this like pent up energy, like this demon killing craziness about her. And that's why Shenhe,
serial killer, Dexter. Yeah.
Shenhe wears these ropes and that's supposed to actually contain her berserker side.
Berserker's making me think of Final Fantasy.
This ties into Chi-Chi's story too, because she like originally hurt her leg and like limped into a cave to like tie it up. And that's when she was like, oh, I'm in the Adepti realm and like I'm in the crossfire of all these like demons and Adepti. So I love that Shenhe is also sort of like tied into this like Chi-Chi, Yao Yao, Shenhe trifecta storyline.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I apologize that I don't know the answer to it, but does Cloud Retainer actually believe that Shenhe has this evil power?
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
Because she doesn't. We find out in the end of her story that she actually she doesn't.
It's just because of when Shenhe was born and the astral prophecy that kind of goes with her birth, because it's like a dual thing of like evil and pain and madness and shit. But that's just a hullabaloo.
Wait, we're saying that Shenhe's curse is all fake? Oh, that's so interesting because in her story trailer for Shenhe, she has some really bad nightmares because she took the ropes off.
Yeah, and I thought though, but I thought that it ended up shit. I might be making shit up again.
Oh, no.
No, I swear that because I love me some Shenhe.
Yeah.
I really thought that it came down to those ropes really don't do anything for her.
No, it's more of a psychological thing because if she takes them off, she will have those nightmares. But I think she relates being protected with the ropes. So it's kind of like a little hug from Cloud Retainer.
Well, I thought it was like they protect everyone else from her because they stop her murderous like feelings, but that's also what makes her sort of numb to the world.
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
Oh.
Because she's like a killer and they stop her from killing, but they also stop her from like feeling regular emotions.
I don't know if that's like, if it's psychological or if it's legit magical rope shit.
I took it as like she's a psychopath.
The red ropes are suppressing her homicidal tendencies, but the red ropes bind her soul, which has also caused her to become mostly indifferent.
Because if she's indifferent, she can't get mad and kill people.
I mean, I get pretty mad when I'm indifferent.
You're not indifferent, you're mad.
Nah, it comes off as I'm indifferent when I'm pretty pissed off.
Oh.
Oh, we know. We know.
I'm so shook that I've just made that up and gone with it. So I apologize to everybody that I have been saying that Shenhe actually isn't a homicidal maniac.
I'm just here to hype you up, man.
We like Shenhe, but we don't like Child.
I like Child, so you're barking up the wrong tree there.
I mean, if we could put some red ropes on Child, I would like him too.
I would love that.
Oh yeah, you would.
Don't tell Albedo.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so Shenhe does have, she's kind of very cold and doesn't really know how to live around people. So after we go through her story and stuff like that, and the second Jade Chambers is made, she does start going down into Liyue Harbor, but she still goes back to Cloud Retainer, and Cloud Retainer still watches over her because I guess she is afraid that she's just gonna lose it at some point.
She's like, here's a child in a cave fighting demons, like triggered. I have to save her.
Somehow though, like in my mind and doing this story like ended with her being like, but I really am a good person. I just completely translated that into my own what I wanted it to be.
Well, maybe she is. I think she wants to.
No, I'm
be.
probably really wrong on this.
Nah, I'm gonna hype you up because if I hype you up, then it's gotta be true.
Travelers, let us know, like, do you think Shenhe's curse is real, fake? Do you think Tiff's making it up, or do you think I'm making it up? Let's have a battle.
Yeah. Season 3 will start with Shenhe.
No.
Why not?
What? Why you gotta hate on her?
Well, I like that, season 1 was Kaya, season 2 was Diluc.
You ran out of brothers.
Season 3 is going to start with Albedo, and then
Yay!
episode 2 will be Shenhe.
There you go. Yeah. We keep it a non-stat. Anyway.
Oh my god.
Travelers, can you name Fiends' favorite characters?
You'll miss
based
some.
on this conversation.
They have no idea. It could not possibly be Albedo and Kaya.
Listen, I have a lot of stake in certain characters, as we know, for my own preferences, but also because of my story. Like Nat's brothers are Kaya and Diluc. Her boyfriend.
So when
is
are we gonna
Albedo.
do the Jean episode, huh?
Well, we had a Barbara episode. Listen, we haven't. Kaya and Diluc, by being my favorite aside, have a lot of important lore. We haven't done an Albedo.
That's very true.
We haven't done a Tingari. We haven't done Shang Yun. They're
no,
my
we just did Xingqiu instead.
Yeah, we did the boyfriend instead. Yeah, basically.
It's completely irrelevant to anything, but Albedo will be very interesting for any travelers who did the Windbloom event with the cutscene that kind of goes in there, and
my
the
little
idea
test tube baby.
Yeah, that Alice is coming back into the story and stuff. So you know what, it worked out.
Be her. I want to be Alice. So
not
bad.
Alice. I'm sorry, Gold.
I was shook that she was like pretending to be other witches. I'm like, they're all gone.
Yeah.
Well, they're not dead.
Well, no, I don't mean dead. I just mean they're all gone. Like
They're
they're not.
MIA.
Yeah. Except Nicole, which we kind of know.
She's dead.
Nicole's not dead. She talked to us.
We didn't talk to Nicole.
Well, I think she's inside Irminsul.
Yeah, we never talked
Everybody's
to
inside
Nicole.
Irminsul. I got some
Except our
people I'd
brother.
like to throw inside of Irminsul too, if we have some time.
I'll delete child.
So we talked about Shenhe. Ganyu is also a disciple. Cloud Retainer. And as you guys mentioned earlier, and stop me if I'm repeating stuff because we've gotten along, we've done a lot. But Ganyu is the first disciple of Cloud Retainer. And I'm like kind of confused how Cloud Retainer ended up adopting Ganyu.
I think Ganyu's parents perished in the Archon War. And so Cloud Retainer kind of took her as a baby and has raised her up. She loves Ganyu. I think Cloud Retainer has a favorite, and it's Ganyu. And because of how she talks about, oh, you want to see the little pictures of little baby Ganyu with all her little baby fat and how like little chubby she was because I could poke her and like do. She loves Ganyu.
No, she
Yeah,
does. It's true.
yeah.
She's a very doting mother.
It's so cute.
And I think that's just because of how she's been with Ganyu practically since day one of Ganyu's life. So I can understand why. With Shenhe, also kind of been there since day one. But Shenhe, there's a lot more circumstances.
She's sort of like Alice, like she collects children.
She do. What if Alice is actually a magic adeptus?
Alice is a crazy person.
Ended up being a mage. I want to be Alice so bad, man.
Oh,
I
God.
just want to meet her. I want to play as Alice.
I want to have big ol' bazoongas, have a beautiful, fiery, oversized hat, like an Elden
I
Ring.
love that you're like, Alice has giant tits.
We know nothing about her other than her being like, we saw like the back of her legs or whatever.
And that she's Klee's mom. That's all we know.
That she's Glee's mom. That's it. And Al's like, oh, she got some big old titties.
She's gotta look. Here's the thing: every single witch that we have met has had big old bitties, and I want that. I mean,
Wait,
I have big old bitties, but
well, I guess is
she's
Mona a
not
witch?
part of the.
She's not part of the Hexen Circle, yeah.
But she's a successor of someone in the Hexen Circle.
Yeah, the old
so
hag.
Not yet. She's not a successor yet.
Wait, what do we think of Scarlet?
Where are we going?
Also, can I just bring out my theory of, and this is when we had just recently learned or saw Cloud Retainer's human form, and I instantly thought, is that Zhao's mom?
Oh, really?
Is that Zhao's mom? Because the color palette and just the way like her face looks of like that deadpan like resting bitch face reminds me so much of Zhao. And I'm like,
don't you think that she would be more involved in Zhao's life then than
no.
like Zhang
This is
Li?
Genshin. What are we doing? Where's Frederica? Where's
I also like to think of her as someone who hates children, so I really identify with Cloud Retainer.
I think Cloud Retainer just wants daughters and did not care about having a son. I think this is just crack theory. Absolutely no evidence, and absolutely more than likely not true, is that after Guizhong died, Cloud Retainer and Zhongli got busy and made Zhao.
Well, that actually wouldn't be too crazy just because there is a similarity that's shared between the three of them. And it's this red marking that happens underneath their eyes. And it's nowhere else. It's just the three of them. And which I think it's also awesome that in Cloud Retainer's human form, that is replaced with her red glasses.
I love it.
Because if there's one thing that I love about this game, it's when there's these tiny little attention to detail things that just
continuity
makes me happy.
I don't know though. I feel like I like the idea and the under eye thing adds to it for sure. But I just
don't
feel
think
like
it's true,
with
though.
how like active Zhang Li is in Zhao's life, that Cloud Retainer would be somewhat active.
Who says she's not? We just don't know.
I mean, she did not talk to him at all. And I've never seen them chat ever.
Maybe she just abandoned him because she was like, I feel guilty of like producing Zhao with Zhongli and betraying Guizhong's memories.
Like who cares about Zhongli when there's Cloud Retainer? Hello.
Oh my god.
I did have a crack theory though until you pointed out that Zhongli is actually an Adepti, where I thought that Zhongli actually created the Adepti, and that's why Cloud Retainer are in Zhao. But that crack theory has since fallen apart.
Well, isn't he technically the prince of the Adepti?
Yeah, I mean, he's the Archon, and he contracted the Adepti.
I thought it was even before that. He was like high to do.
I mean, Adepti, like, that's just gods. They're just gods, which means Zhao is a god.
No.
Yes.
I'm not
Phoebe's
going.
Yeah.
There's
Maybe
a
the
difference between
illuminated
those.
beasts are more gods that are regional based, while yakshas are more creature based in godship. Like, oh, we have Cloud Retainer who rules over this area, right? And then the yakshas are like, we're this specific aspect of darkness.
Yeah, I feel like the Adepti are actually above gods. That's the only reason why I say that they're not gods.
Oh.
Is because I actually feel like they're
I would think of them as below, but that's really interesting. And also, like, remember that Zhao can turn into a bird.
Yeah, we've just never seen it.
We've never seen it, but he can.
Which I got a lot of questions about that too. Why haven't we fucking seen that? Like, there's something weird
Because
going
they
on.
want people to pull down his pants. Like, they want people to buy him.
Oh my god,
Not wrong.
just stopped Amanda in her.
Not wrong. Not wrong at all.
Oh goodness.
No one wants to pull down the pants of a bird.
You were just talking about how sexy Cloud Retainer was. So
Me? No, Moon
No,
Carver.
Moon Carver.
The
same
stag.
different animal. Like,
the
goddamn.
Stag.
Someone call Zach Aguilar right now and just tell him to block these. Or, DM him. You never know.
I think on that note, we have run out of time for today's episode. Sorry, travelers, if you were including the pants commentary. But please make sure if you liked today's episode, you have some comments, questions, you want to let us know your thoughts on the Adepti, Cloud Retainer, the love triangle. Let us know. You can let us know at Tales of Teyvat Pod on Instagram or Tales of Teyvat on Twitter. Additionally, you can also send us an email at talesoftevatpod@gmail.com. We also want to remind travelers that we did open a Ko-fi during our break. So if you're interested, you can also buy us a cup of coffee, but there is no pressure. We just want to give you the option. Otherwise, travelers, safe journeys. We'll see you next time.
One wishes you a beneficial exit, nerds.